Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Relief Factor Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. How's everybody doing?
Good morning. Happy Wednesday.
All right, wait a minute. Now, the last audio from No King's Day, and then we'll move on, right? Till 4th of July.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Right. And, well, maybe unless there's, I don't think anything can beat this. If this is real, and I say if this is real because every single conservative I saw on social media said, this can't be real because nobody can be this dumb. You know, and you and I said the same thing. It's like, no, they could be.
Yeah.
No, they could. No, this has to be AI. No, it can't be true. Nobody could be this dumb. Are you ready?
All right, here we go.
Here we go. All right, let's play it.
Isn't it a little bit homophobic that we're so focused on the Straits of Hormuz and not the gays of Hormuz?
Yes, I agree. Yes, for sure.
Why do you think they're willing to leave the gays of Hormuz behind?
I think it's just historically, gays have always been very discriminated against, which is wrong on so many levels.
Even in war.
Yeah, even in war. It just takes more reform in government, obviously, and then also educating society.
I just feel like if we're going to go in there, we can't leave the gay people behind.
Right.
I don't think we should go in there at all, but if we're going to, the gays of Hormuz, we could turn it into...
I mean, it just continued like that. I'm just like, wow. Wow.
And he's, I don't know if he naturally has the dialects. I'm not familiar with the guy.
Yeah, neither am I. Yeah.
So he might be from, I don't know, Austria, Germany, the one of the two, it sounds like, you know, and or if he's just doing that to sound European, you know what I mean? Don't go in there. There's a protest in there. Don't go in there. There's a Trump in there. If it's real, it's not hard to believe. The thing is that we have to scrutinize everything in the AI world. You know, you really do. Also, the Babylon Bee is pretty good. And they produced a few things. Normally, you can tell when they produce some kind of like a little parody video of whatever it is.
Oh, yeah, they have the Babylon Bee on it when they do it. Yeah.
And so, you can but along those lines, there are plenty of YouTubers that guy might be a YouTuber. I'm not familiar with him. And so that would be, by the way, very funny too, to have a channel where you're just, let's infiltrate the protests. And let's talk to them. Again, he might be from Austria or Germany, or he might just be using the accent to gain some street cred.
Did you see the lead article from Babylon Bee yesterday?
No.
Brutal.
No.
You ready?
Okay.
Tiger Woods awarded honorary California CDL.
Oh,
there's
wow.
a picture
Yeah.
a fake picture of California commercial driver's license.
Yeah.
It's like,
wow. Wow. I can hear some truckers laughing at that one.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I saw it like, whoa.
Wow.
You saw, though, he wrote, he's
stepping
people were
away.
wondering if he's going to be in the Masters. I was thinking yesterday, I didn't say it on the air, but I went, he's not going to be in the Masters.
No, they've already said he's not.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and so he's apparently going for
treatment.
Yeah.
I hope it takes, and I hope that it's the last time he ever has to go to treatment. I hope that he's able to get it together. It's interesting dynamic that if you've been around long enough and you saw young Tiger on the Mike Douglas show.
Yeah, I
with
did.
his dad. I remember that. I remember being at work when it was announced he was going pro. It was the Arlington studios. Wow. It's crazy. And the story had come out and I think it came out that day, but we had come to work and were prepping for the show. And so it was one of the stories that was at the top of the news, is when it was announced he was going pro. And so you kind of, if you've been around long enough, you followed his life story, remembering him with his dad as a young boy. And it's tragic to see this kind of situation, whatever's going on with him. And I don't know what that is, but I hope it's straightened out. Everybody, it's real quick for a lot of us who aren't billionaires and globally famous. I mean, is there any, when the Masters made the statement, while he's not going to be there, he will be there in spirit. The spirit of Tiger will be ever present at Masters, basically. And it is. It's even when he's not playing, Tiger still has this presence in golf. And that's like a Michael Jordan kind of achievement in terms of sports. And so you say to yourself, well, how do they get to a point like that? Well, everybody that's in those situations is also human. And I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what his situation is. Don't know how. I'm guessing, and it's just a guess, possibility with all the surgeries he's had. If there is an addiction to painkillers involved,
you saw
they did find hydrocodone.
They found 2 tablets.
Yeah, and if there is that, then we've certainly seen that before. We've seen that in professional sports. We've seen that in a lot of places, in fact, with people who just happen to be famous. And a lot of individuals who aren't famous also go through that.
I remember Rush, after having the horrible back pain problems.
Yeah, right.
Became addicted
right.
To it.
Right.
A lot of athletes have. I've always been interested, because whenever I tell my doctor I've got a pain here, he goes ibuprofen. But
yeah,
but I wonder what that feels like to have a medicine. I've never been on an opiate, so I don't know. But I just wonder, how does that? I just wonder psychologically and physically how that combines together. I'm not going to try it, but I've always been interested in how that, what is that kind of addiction? They talk about that. I remember one time an alcohol counselor told me, I don't know whether it's true or not, but told me that Irish are more susceptible to being alcoholics. And I don't know whether that's true or not. I remember them saying that to me, but
is that genetic or culturally or both? Maybe
I think they were trying to, tell me that it was genetic.
Yeah,
this goes back 40 years ago in a conversation I had at a party one time. And
it wasn't your counselor. It was just somebody who happened to be a counselor.
It wasn't
It
wasn't a guy. Exactly. It wasn't my counselor, but and I have an addictive personality for this. And I have an addictive personality for golf. I saw somebody say, if you want to know what an addiction is outside of drugs, hit a good golf shot and then keep playing and hit more good golf shots. And that addiction that you want to get out there and do it again is the closest without being addicted to actually a foreign substance that you can get. And I went, oh, okay, that I relate to. That I could actually relate, especially in my younger days. I don't have it as much now just because I can't golf as much. It's just physically, and it's the joints. I mean, I can still swim, I can play golf, but I can't play golf every day. I just can't do it. I mean, one of the reasons it wasn't really high up in the list, but I remember when I started on this show. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, okay, I can't wait, till I stay with this show. When I decided that I was going to stay on the show, and I didn't tell anybody. I don't even think I told you at that point.
That was just last week, wasn't it?
Exactly. I'm going to stay. And it was just because my goal was, when I came on the show, was just to stay a year and then take it and, take the national experience and take it to another daytime job. I never imagined myself here almost 21 years later.
Isn't that crazy?
And when I decided to do it, and it was very quick into it when I realized that you and I had chemistry, and it was like, okay, we got something here.
Yeah.
And so it was, for us, it's always been the process that we love doing.
Yes.
We love doing the process. We love the preparing, and we love doing what we do on the air. I've always loved, for some reason, it's been in me, it's been an addiction since I've been really young to be in front of a microphone.
Mm-hmm.
And I do it so much that I don't know that I miss it until we have a week's vacation.
Yeah.
And could you imagine if you and I had 2 weeks vacation?
No. No.
And
sometimes people say that, I'm taking a 2-week vacation going to Europe or whatever. I'm like, I don't think I would. Because our longest break is at the end of the year, around Christmas. That one, to me, I've got to keep myself busy. Because especially now that I've turned 60, I turned 60 right after Christmas, and it was like, people start talking. My mom keeps asking me. I think she's been asking me for 20 years, when are you going to retire? But I don't think in those terms, and I don't want to, because I don't think in terms of, I know at some point I will, but for me, it's how do I get back to doing this? And so what I've done is I don't really stop doing show prep. I mean, it's a different schedule during those times, but I'm still doing show prep because I like reading the stories. I like they're interesting to me.
But you and I both talked about it and I know when I'm away from my phone for 20 minutes, I have this and so for me, you might say, I remember. This goes back again 40 years when the whole pot stuff was going on. It was well, pot isn't physically addicting; it's psychologically addicting. And I remember that kind of. I remember always saying to myself, "Well, what's the difference?" But even like, for example, alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Even in my younger days, when I drank too much, there wasn't I never had for example, an addiction where I felt I might be in the situation where I did it.
Yeah.
But there was never an addiction where I have to go drink tonight.
Right.
I never had that.
Right.
And if I drank and then I didn't have a drink for 2-3 months,
right,
it didn't matter. I wasn't thinking about it or anything. And I've talked to addicts. I have some friends of mine that are in recovery, and on alcohol especially, they go, think about it every day. Think about it every day.
Wow.
Go, really? Wow.
Yeah.
And it's, so and I've seen some courageous people, very courageous people.
Yeah.
One of the best shows I've ever saw was, because like I said, I have friends that are in recovery, did you ever watch Mom?
Yeah. Very funny.
I thought that was a great show. I thought it was
so well written.
I thought it was such
it's on streaming somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a great show about people and their struggle every single day.
Yeah.
In their messed up lives, not to be messed up on alcohol.
Right.
And I always have said to myself, I can't imagine. I'd rather be obsessed with this every day. That I got to have my phone. I don't know what's happening. What did Trump do 5 minutes ago? I haven't checked in 7 minutes. I'd rather have that kind of addiction than a physical addiction to something. To me, that would be one of the worst things. Who did I hear say? One of the reasons that some people don't have addictions is because they don't like not being in control.
No, that's me. For like things like hydrocodone, I can't take it because, first of all, for 5 minutes as it kicks in, I feel fine. It's okay.
Oh, have you taken it?
I've taken hydrocodone. Yeah.
See, I've never had it. I don't know.
Yeah. It's the prescription pain medicine. It's the regular prescription pain medicine. It's not the strong one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. It's what's the strong one? Hydroxy something. I forget what it is. But hydrocodone is just the dentist would give you.
Oh, I've had that then.
Yeah.
Okay. I've had. Okay. That's right. I've had
codeine
it.
and acetaminophen.
Okay.
And so.
Oh yeah. Then I've had it. Yes.
Yeah. So for me, 5 minutes it starts to kick in. I can feel that, and then all of a sudden, I'm queasy, nauseous, and I mean it goes on for days. Just if I took just one pill,
wow,
it's the worst. And so, and it never ever helped pain. I had a very serious surgery in 1993, and it was extremely painful. But the pain medicine, I took it the first day, And it just made it worse. It made me tired, nauseous, and also didn't help with the pain. And so at that point, I stuck with over-the-counter stuff, but I just kind of pushed through it. I had to. I told the doctor, I can't take that stuff because I don't want to be groggy. I don't want to be nauseous and have to deal with the pain. If it cured the pain or at least eliminated the pain for some period of time, that would might be different. So I don't have an addictive personality because that's another thing too. Being a parent, a grandparent, I'm always of the mindset that I'm going to have to get in the car and drive somewhere if there's an emergency. If we work at night, it's going to happen during the day. They're going to call me. And so I don't drink. I used to have a beer on the weekend, used to have a couple of drinks on the weekend back in the day when I was young. But I haven't had it in a few years. I think I had one beer 2 years ago. And I don't like being not in control at any level.
Well, I guess it's a sort of maybe a good thing that we aren't addicted to physical substances because we're control freaks.
I'll take it. It may have negative ramifications in other ways.
That was a conversation that I had with a couple of people the other day.
I'm hoping that Tiger can get on top of this and get beyond this. And for anybody in that situation, for them too.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller. Compliance, Safety, Accountability is the FMCSA Safety, Compliance, and Enforcement Program. Its goal is to hold motor carriers and drivers accountable for highway safety. CSA does this by assessing the safety performance of motor carriers and drivers. Motor carriers are assigned a score. The carrier is then grouped with other carriers who have had a similar number of safety events. Carrier scores within the group are then ranked. Low scores are better. So carriers with the highest scores are those that are most likely to be targeted for intervention by the FMCSA. Interventions range in severity and may include warning letters, roadside, off-site, or on-site inspections, civil penalties, or operation out-of-service orders. This tip was brought to you by JJ Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Karl, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, can you believe it? There's been no publicity really about it at all. And for us old folks, we remember the first moon landing.
Yeah.
Artemis II, supposed to take off tomorrow at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time.
All right.
Approximately 10-day first crew flight around the moon.
Yeah. All right.
Using the Space Launch System and the Orion capsule.
Okay.
Launching from the Kennedy Space Center.
Yeah.
You were saying okay, enough. Let's move on to the next topic. It's only going around the moon.
I'm like, no, this is. I'm like, okay, this is good. It's about time, right? It's kind of surprising that there hasn't been another mission, for a number of reasons. I mean, I know we've been there, done that
over a half century.
Yeah, and here we are in 2026. You think about, wow, okay, yeah, let's get back to doing good things, great things. And because we talked about how the innovation that comes from, especially early on, but even still today, the innovation and problem solving that comes from such an event is something that society benefits from. And I'm just curious. I also love to watch things like this happen, or anything about space. And NASA is just always interesting.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
Broadcast coverage available on NASA Plus, YouTube, and other social media
NASA
platforms.
Plus? I didn't know NASA had a plus.
Yeah, but what's missing?
What?
No networks.
Oh, yeah. Well, streaming's got it all.
I'm sure some will cover it.
Yeah, but they will.
We have a line open. 1-866-90-RED-EYE. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. The Supreme Court in action yesterday and will be in action today. We'll have all the details coming up in just a minute and a half.
You know, when it comes to supplements, there are two things that matter the most. It works, and you can trust it. In fact, for me to do an endorsement of a supplement, those two things are in play every single time. And I'm telling you, with Relief Factor, it works, and you can trust it. That's why you hear other radio hosts, in fact, for over a decade, that have been endorsing this great product, Relief Factor, like I'm doing now, because they believe in it. And I'm telling you, it works for me. I was doing more of the project outside yesterday during the day. I was out there, no soreness, nothing. The stiffness and the aches and pains, thanks to Relief Factor, are in the past. I take it every day, and you should too. They offer a 3-week quick start at just $19.95. I'm getting a lot of correspondence asking me about this by email, and thank you for your interest. But here's what you do. I'll give you a straight, direct way to get started. 3-week quick start for just $19.95. Just go to relieffactor.com, call 800, the number 4, relief, relieffactor.com, 800-4-RELIEF. Use Red Eye in the drop-down for your 3-week quick start at $19.95.
You know, when we talk about Artemis II going up and circling the moon, every time I hear that, I flash back to being a 13-year-old kid. December 24th, 1968, Apollo 8, sitting in my parents' living room at 101 Moore Avenue in Kenmore, New York, and watching TV. And all of a sudden, you know, they break in, and there's a message, Christmas message from the astronauts. And it was Bill Anders and Frank Lovell and Jim Lovell, excuse me, and Frank Borman. And Jim Anders starts out, because it's December 24th, Christmas Eve, their Christmas message, starts out reading Genesis from the Bible.
Wow.
I'll never forget it. I get chills every time I hear, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
Wow.
And it came from, you know, back in 1968, there it is. And that came across, that was like,
yeah,
boom.
Yeah.
Because there you are, you know, coming out from the, you know, the dark side of the moon, out where you can communicate for a while. And it was basically their Christmas message. And each one of them read verses from Genesis. And it was just, one of the, when I think of it, one of the most important moments in history that I experienced in my life.
Yeah.
At that point.
Interesting.
Because you knew at that point we were going to the moon. You knew it was going to happen, which had happened the next July.
Right, yeah.
Where we went to the moon. So just going, because that was a big deal, going around. Can we orbit the moon?
Right. Can we get there? Can you get, and I was 2 in 68 and 3 when they got to the moon. I don't remember that, but as I started to become aware of basically the media, which was radio and television, there was this greater awareness. There was this residual effect that I do remember. My dad, we had moved to Texas because my dad was going over to Vietnam. And so there was a lot going on. And so, in my personal life, and then Mom kind of kept us away from the TV with news. We didn't watch the news. But I do remember as I turned 5, preschool, and then eventually school. Well, my first school, John Glenn Elementary, and in San Antonio. And, so there was that residual effect that went on. And it was, you could tell that it was, I could tell, even at that age, that this was this massive accomplishment. And if you think about it, a global accomplishment. There were people around the world cheering this in terms of landing on the moon. And that to me is just exciting. I can't imagine what it's like to be in space. That to me is the wildest thought. And so any kind of space travel event, when I said, okay, when you were reading earlier, and I was like, okay, I wasn't, I wasn't disinterested. It was quite the opposite. I was
I was just kidding. I was just,
here we go. This is, let's get back to doing great things. And this may not be a priority with a lot of people, may not be a priority as a nation because we've accomplished so much when it comes to space travel. But to me, there's always something to be learned in the process of that.
Well, for me, again, when it, earlier this week, I went, oh, that's right. When I saw it on social media, I'm like, that's right. Wow. It's going up.
Yeah.
We're going up again. We're going to circle the moon. And it just reminded me of the excitement that was going on. Mm-hmm. One of my first memories, I've often talked to one of my first memories was the John Kennedy Nixon debate that is a blur to me, and I don't remember. When my mom asked me, she always told me that she said, "Who do you think won?" And I went, "That guy," and it was Nixon, which again led to a very successful political career of always being wrong on my political predictions. The first, I remember tying my shoes, but I don't remember how old I was. But the other thing I remember, the thing that really hits my memory, is the 8 original astronauts. That was as big as the Beatles. It was bigger.
Yeah.
The 8 original astronauts. That came from my mom because my mom was home and just went, wow, watching TV. And they introduced Scott Carpenter, Gordon Cooper, John Glenn, Gus Grissom, Wally Schirra, Alan Shepard, and Deke Slayton. And it was just like they were as close as you can get to American deities at that moment.
Yeah.
And I just remember how big it was. And then the next, really, when you think about it, the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Because that would have been April 9th, 1959. So, you go, all the way to the moon landing. You're talking almost, you're talking 10 years where it went on. And, going through Mercury and Gemini and Apollo. And it was just, I think, and at the same time, everything that was going on domestically and internationally, the Vietnam War, race riots, everything in there.
Yeah.
That time in history, people say that we always believe, especially if you're trying to make a political point, you're always, and you don't have a lot of substance behind it, you're always trying to make the point that this is the worst time ever.
Yeah.
You get that from the whole No Kings thing, and it's not the worst time ever.
No.
It's not even close to being the worst time ever.
No.
In this country. We have challenges, we have problems, and part of that is complete ignorance of how things work in our society.
Mm-hmm.
I saw, who was it? I saw Gary Sinise say there's a big disconnect. The public is so far away from the military, they don't even know what's going on. You and I were talking about, I just knowing and just knowing the history of so many wars and seeing how we're fighting this day by day by day in the media, coming up with instant analysis, and it's something that you and I have objected to. And we talked about, Trump saying, just going to be another week, another week, another week, another week. I'm just glad that it isn't a war against a foe that has the ability to strike back big time into the United States.
Right.
Because this is no way to fight a war.
Right.
It's what you're left with a public that expects a significant portion of the public. I'm not talking about our audience, conservatives, whatever, but I'm talking about the social media and the media itself that is trying to analyze every second of a conflict, which you cannot do when you're going to war. You and I were talking about, this, and I think this evolves right into just everything that we're talking about right now, where we started on this, is that, and we said it yesterday, the people that are saying that this war isn't a success, militarily speaking, are completely and totally clueless. We said the people that thought that, well, we had no plan for the Straits of Hormuz. Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Of course we did.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why the one general said, we war game all these things. We do simulations against any enemy, and we take into account everything. Now, things may happen, and things may be slower or faster, but as he said, from all the simulations, we're ahead of schedule of what all the simulations showed. And one of the things about simulations is, don't mean anything when you get to the real thing.
Right. Yeah.
Because everything, you don't know what you're going to get.
Right.
But I look at this here, how you can tell the administration wants to end this thing and be successful because of public opinion expects things to be done like this.
Mm-hmm.
When the goal here, as the president laid out, is beyond, and is a lot of it is beyond our control. It's what the Iranian people expect to do. And I saw Marco Rubio talk about and say, we're talking to people inside. We're talking to moderates. Yeah. I don't know what the president's going to say tomorrow. He said yesterday another week or two. But when you think about it right now, this should not be a worry because there are no really air defenses left.
Right.
We're sending in regular planes now. They can't shoot them down.
Right.
So we can sit there and we can take our time and do everything we get. There's no real rush except for what? The election coming up and the price of gasoline.
Oh, this is, that's the conundrum he's in, is that the timing on this is not working when it comes to pricing. But you and I have often said there shouldn't be a clock that is set. Certainly you want to accomplish your mission. And the sooner you get it over with, the better. But that is often a pipe dream because, as you mentioned, even with going through all of the war games and preparing for this, there are too many moving parts and unpredictable elements to a situation like this, especially when it comes to Iran. And it's turning into exactly what you and I said at the beginning it would be. Discovering now, after you have depleted their ability to fight back, now you're just looking to discover how deep the roots are from the inside, what the pecking order is, and who can convert and work with us, and if anyone, and who will not, and you go from there. The Iranian people are not going to rise up. You would hope that would happen, but they are not armed. They don't have the ability to rise up, and they didn't know who was left in the regime. So,
well, we don't know what's going to happen on this yet. We don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
so
yeah.
there is. So what you try to do, and what we're, I think, going through right now, this is what Marco Rubio, his information lends to this theory, and that is you're discovering who is loyal, who might be workable, and who might not be. And you trust no one, but there has to be some kind of progress in order to make sure that the regime is gone. And what you ultimately want is you want that enriched uranium in American possession. We need to have possession of that. And however we get that, if we can't destroy it and ensure that it's been destroyed, is going to be a very tedious task. We'll see how long it takes.
By the way, I think I said the original 8 astronauts. It was 7. It was a Mercury 7. I was thinking of Apollo 8. I knew that. I just realized. I think I said 8. I meant 7.
I think so.
Yeah. So. All right, we are Red Eye Radio.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Did you see?
What?
The liberals on the Supreme Court were fighting each other, going back and forth.
Yeah.
Kagan. And I'm paraphrasing here. I'm simplifying it, not with any type of legalese. And this was on the Supreme Court strike down Colorado's ban on conversion therapy, saying a therapist can tell you, there is no proven science.
Right.
The Colorado is trying to think, no, if you believe that if you're a boy and you believe you're a girl, then you're a girl. And nobody can tell you that you're not a girl.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, they can.
Yeah, they actually can.
And it was 8-1.
Yeah.
Except for Jackson.
Right.
And
remember, she couldn't define a woman in her confirmation hearing.
You're right.
Yeah.
Somebody should have brought that up.
Yes.
How do you know you can't define a woman?
Your opinion here is meaningless.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Relief Factor Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, running into a problem here.
Oh, what do you got?
It's only Wednesday, and the audio cuts are piling up because there's so much to discuss. And we're not going to miss, because there's a ton of stuff on the Supreme Court that we want to bring up and go through. But we just got to play some of the great audio cuts out there. One of the big things over the last, it's always been a thing, Bernie Sanders and billionaires and all this and California, the census figures that came out with the money moving and people moving. Did you see 54,000 people, I think, left Los Angeles?
Yeah, that's huge.
54,000. And so that debate is going on. It went on here in the last 48 hours at Fox News, and you had the senior advisor to Bernie Sanders and Karl Rove.
Okay.
All right. So
all right,
Karl Rove going back and forth. So here we go, because this is, you may in the past have viewed Karl Rove as weak in some areas.
Yeah, at times.
He's extremely strong in this argument here.
Okay.
Here we go. All right. Billionaires. All right. And red and blue states.
Okay.
All right. Ready?
Let's go.
Here we go.
Well, right now, the problem is you got a billionaire class that wants to extort America. They say, hey, if you want to tax us, you want to use the democratic process to institute fairer taxes on us, then we will punish you. We will move to places like Florida and Texas. I'm a Floridian, so if you look at Florida right now, Bill, there are a number of billionaires that moved there, Zuckerberg, Bezos, and others. And you would say, right, because of the billionaire influx into Florida, the working class must be doing great. Wrong. Right now, they're proposing budgets to cut education, cut health care, cut public lands. This is a state I know and love. And why is it? Why is it that the billionaires flee to a place like Florida and you can't improve the standard of living of Floridians? Why? Because they are instituting a sense of a rule of the oligarchy. If you want to take us on, you will not allow you to tax us, and you cannot improve the lives of working class Americans. It is a choice for us. Are we going to stand up to this power? Or
It's not only billionaires who are moving to Florida and Texas. It's ordinary Americans who see that they have a better chance at a better life with low taxes, less government, better schools, lower cost of living. That's why they're moving there. If the idea of moving to Florida is only good for billionaires and it's good to move to New York and New Jersey and California, then I suggest every well-meaning liberal, every well-meaning Democratic socialist show that they believe in big government by moving away from a state like Florida or Texas and going to one of these utopias like California, New York, or New Jersey. Good luck with that. People are voting with their feet because they hate the kind of policies that were just outlined.
Yeah. I mean,
it was a typical, if the billionaires are moving to states where everything is just being destroyed, and it's just like, you can't make that argument. You can't make that argument about Florida, and you can't make that argument about Texas.
Right.
Now, what they are doing is the dollars that you have, they believe they can do better with the dollars that they have. One of the reasons that the public, including a ton of Democrats, a ton of minority Democrats, what do they love? School choice. Competition. Competition lowers the price.
Yep.
Competition also gives you what? Better education.
Yep.
Monopolies never work. We've always found it fascinating how the left is absolutely crazy about any large corporation, and they view it a monopoly, yet the monopoly of government. Why aren't they? Oh, I can answer this question. Why aren't they against the monopoly of government?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're not against the monopoly of government if government has their same opinions on how to tax with other people's money and put it into programs where results don't matter.
They're only against a monopoly, or as they call it, Trump trying to be a king. It's Trump when it's a Republican, when they're trying to expand the economy, less taxes, and more freedom for the individual. You know, this is it. And Karl Rove is right. What you're seeing in this mass exodus, there are some high-profile billionaires that are leaving not just California, but the West Coast. I have to include that because Jeff Bezos decided to build his lair in Florida instead of Seattle, where he was living before. And there is, with that, because you have to include, outside the billionaires, you have to include individuals. It's basically the scenario that I've pointed out and we've talked about for years, that at some point you can't afford to stay. We're a more mobile society today than we have been traditionally. There are a lot of people, you talk about Buffalo all the time. Of course, you're from there. And you talk about how a lot of people stay in Buffalo. But many people move away from Buffalo. Evidence of that is there are Buffalo bars in just about every town where the people from Buffalo get together. Yeah. In fact, the only two people that I know directly and are friends with from Buffalo are both radio colleagues or former colleague and good friends, and they finally met at a Buffalo bar.
Yes.
And you had to send me the selfie with Tommy.
Yeah.
We love you, Tommy. And that,
great play-by-play hockey announcer.
Oh yeah, the Allen Americans, right?
Yeah,
and he's just man, he's a brainiac. He's so good.
And the funniest thing is, because I was at Buffalo Brothers, which is the Buffalo food bar that sort of became a sports bar, but they are sports bars, but that sort of became a Buffalo Bills sports bar. That wasn't their intent. Their intent was Texans will love Buffalo food. They have 3 locations now.
Right. Do they have the beef on weck?
They got the beef on weck. Yeah, right. They've got the big one, the big sports bar in downtown Fort Worth, and then they've got a new one they just opened up in Burleson. Everything is in Tarrant County, and it almost goes right down 35.
Yeah. Well,
and then they've got the one in across from TCU, which is which is the weirdest mix I've ever seen in my life because it's a TCU Buffalo bar. And it works.
And it works. Yeah.
And I don't know how, but it works. But there I was, and this goes back about a year and a half ago, and it was a preseason game. And my buddy Mike, who's the head of the Buffalo Bills booster, I don't get a chance to go often, but it was a preseason game on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I think it was. Yeah, it was. And because Tommy's busy so much of the year, he can't be there. And Mike came up to me, he goes, "Do you know Tommy?" He goes, "Daniels, yeah."
Yeah.
He goes, "Do you know Tommy?" I said, "I know who he is. He's good friends of my co-host, Eric."
Yeah.
He goes, "He's over there." And I just went over. I go, "Tommy, Gary McNamara." Ah! And then it was like we had known each other our entire lives.
Yeah.
And that's so cool when you don't know somebody except through somebody else.
Yeah.
And they're in your business, and then you meet them, and then you realize, besides you, we know like 20 other people in the business that we've worked with before.
Right.
And it's watching any sports that afternoon was gone because we just never stopped talking.
Well, and it's great, and I love it, and it is part of a society that is more and more mobile. You don't just stay in the town you grew up in. You move on. You move on for opportunity. That's a big one. Relocating for a number of reasons, but opportunity. I read another article about a family from California. They moved to Texas, and they were so shocked. After the first year, they said, we'll never move back to California. We have family there. We'll go back and visit. But we love Texas so much because of the opportunity, the schools for our children, and everything else. They just love Texas altogether.
I was in the media in Buffalo for 10 years.
Yeah.
One of the biggest complaints you got from parents was the kids all had to move.
Yeah.
They had to move in order to get.
Yeah.
And if you look at the population, it's been stagnant.
Yeah.
I've talked about Dallas-Fort Worth.
Right.
Dallas-Fort Worth, since I've been here, has grown almost 3.
Yeah.
Where Buffalo, Niagara Falls, which is Erie and Niagara counties.
Yeah.
Just Dallas-Fort Worth.
Yeah.
And that's over 3 million people. I think it's like 3.5 million in the quarter century I've been here, just to Dallas-Fort Worth. And I'll never forget when the great Lars Larson from KXL in Portland, I'll never forget, he was visiting one time, and I think he said it to me. He said, my God, he goes, I love Texas. There's construction all over the place, which means they're building roads, which is one of the biggest complaints in Portland. Right. They want the traffic jams to force people on public transportation.
Right.
And I was like, well, you have no choice. The population is growing so quick. There is and there's still traffic jams. They just, by the time they finish building the roads,
it's all filled in.
It's already filled in. The traffic is already there.
Right.
Especially when they did a lot of the stuff for 635 right where we are right here.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what happens. And it's sort of come to the realization that either you're dying or you're growing.
Yes.
There's not many in between, situations that are there. It may exist out there, but there aren't many that just stay the same way. You're either growing or you're dying, and you can go across. I follow this guy. Was it Nick? And I can't think of his name. I think his name's Nick. But he goes across all the country and goes through all the ghost towns that exist.
Wow.
Every single state.
Yeah.
And most of them are small towns,
right. Yeah.
That boom because of this. But you can't believe the number of towns that nobody is in anymore.
Right.
It's
parts of West Texas, if you drive, if I drive from here to Colorado, going through parts of West Texas, some of the smaller towns, and I love the small towns because my grandparents lived in a small town about an hour and a half west of here, but it's there's no industry, so you're either retired or maybe you work oil field or something, or you travel for your job, but in fact that's part of it. In small towns, even if you're staying within the state, and it happened to me and my wife over 30 years ago, it was we can no longer afford to stay. So that's what is going on with people all over the country. But affordability gets down to the taxes. I think Jamie Dimon from Chase, JPMorgan Chase, talked about it. He said, the people in blue states are leaving because they can't afford it, the high taxes and the policy.
We have that audio coming up, but I want to play this audio first because I had that audio ready to go.
Yeah.
But I want to play this one first because we heard Bernie Sanders' advisor, the billionaires, the typical far-left socialist argument, and Karl Rove say, no, you can't do it. Now, this is former Obama advisor Robert Wolf talking about New York City and what New York State is doing to raise taxes. Let's see what former Obama advisor had to say.
All right.
Real quick, last final thought. JPMorgan's Jamie Dimon was on this morning saying people vote with their feet. There's still this exodus from some of these blue states where people are seeking brighter futures.
Yeah, I think Jamie's right. I know he was on Fox and Friends this morning, and taxes are too high in New York City. And I think the idea that Mamdani thinks he can, close the budget just by raising taxes, I don't think it's the way. I mean, I informally advised him before the election. If I was advising him today, I would say let's focus on revenues and income and not on taxing.
That's a former Obama senior advisor, Robert Wolf. Just to show you who's changing. Yep. Even back then, the Democrats are like, you can't do what he's doing. But now Bernie Sanders is, by the way, lockstep with Mamdani. They think exactly the same. There's no.
Oh, yeah.
There's no difference at all.
Right.
And, it's like Democrats are going, we can't do this. We can't do this. But it was the only way that you and I talked about this years ago. It was like there's eventually going to come to a point where people are going to say, we can't put up with this.
We can't do this. We can't afford it.
And we actually talked about the fact of people that couldn't afford to leave. And now you've got many people saying we can't afford not to leave.
You can't afford to stay,
Right.
which is what I've been saying for years. At some point, you can't afford to stay. And that's exactly what we're seeing. That goes back to the Karl Rove comment in that, look, there are everyday people. The brunt of this is everyday people looking for greater opportunity and a greater quality of life based on a lower cost of living. And in states like Florida and Texas and others, there's that great opportunity. And the blue states are doing what? They're going after the people more and more and more. And they do that through regulation and taxation. The corporate taxes, they want to go after corporate taxes. All those are hidden taxes that are passed on to the lower and middle class, to everybody. It's not the billionaires. It's everybody that has to pay for that. And again, at some point, the cost of living is too much.
Well, but the biggest BS that the Democrats have ever thrown out successfully is that we're going to go after, because that's what they're going to do in New York now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the billionaires are going to leave. We can't do that. All right, let's tax the corporations. We'll call them greedy. We'll call them the oligarchy.
Yep.
The plutocracy, the oligarchy, everything else. These massive corporations. We need to tax them because they're evil. And the idiot public goes, the idiot Democrats go, the no kings people, oh, that's good.
Yeah.
We all know they pass it down to the consumer.
Of course.
Because if you're in a particular geographical area, you can't move. They're going to pass it on to the consumer.
Right.
If everybody in that state is taxed, they're going to pass it on. And who does it hurt the most? The poor and the middle class. And it's a stealth tax. And the no kings idiots are sitting there going, punish them.
And they're the ones paying for it.
And their leaders are going, you people are no king idiots.
Yes, no brains.
No, you're no brain idiots. We're taxing you, and it's a stealth tax, and you're buying it.
When you add to the cost of doing business, there's two things those corporations can do. Pass it along to the consumer to the point the market will bear, and then you start laying off people. So not only do you pay for it in whatever product or service you're buying, you might pay for it in your job, or maybe your neighbor pays for it in their job. That's exactly what happens. They're going to protect their margin. Otherwise, they're gone.
We are Red Eye Radio.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Easter, Passover, Mother's Day. Big springtime family and friend gatherings with traditional main courses and brunch dishes. But whether it is a large cut of meat or a quiche, Meredith Carruthers of USDA's Meat and Poultry Hotline says the 4 steps for food safety need to be considered and practiced.
Clean, separate, cook, and chill. Clean is starting with clean hands, utensils, making sure you're washing your hands throughout food preparation, especially after you touch raw meat and poultry. While you're preparing, keeping your foods that are ready to eat separate from any foods that are raw or need to be cooked in order to be safe.
Cook involves cooking large cuts of meat to proper internal temperatures to kill foodborne bacteria and using a food thermometer. As for chill,
not leaving foods out for more than 2 hours at room temperature, getting them into the fridge in time, packing up leftovers, making sure that you're taking some of those big, large cuts of meat and breaking them down into smaller portions before putting them in the fridge.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
We're Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, here's this audio cut with Jamie Dimon yesterday talking about the same thing as everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
Blue states versus red states and taxes.
Washington State today announced we have a millionaire's tax. They are putting a referendum in California, billionaire's tax. What's the reaction been, Jamie? People are going, okay, I got the message. I'm out of here. You have more people now in Dallas than you have in New York City. Yeah. There's a reason for that.
Yeah. No, I tell people everyone's got to compete, including cities. And for a city to compete, of course, it's quality of life, it's your subways, it's your hospitals, but it's also individual taxes, estate taxes, corporate taxes, and it drives people out. So all you have to do is look at California versus Nevada, New York versus Florida, and there's a huge exodus taking place. It's not good for the city, and people just make a mistake, I'll just tax these people, but that's the outcome. And very often people think they're being moral by doing that, but they're not. What they're doing is they're hurting your own city, and unfortunately people vote with their feet, and so.
Yeah. Well, they vote both ways. They voted him in. They keep voting the same Democrats in.
Yep.
And then you've got people complaining when they start taxing.
Exactly.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Relief Factor Studios.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I just sit here. By the way, download our Red Eye Radio app today and listen when and where you choose. I'm just sitting here, and I just don't know how. You and I were in a conversation. I look at my computer screen, and this audio cut was right there. You ready?
All right.
I swear to you, it just appeared right in front of me. Here we go. All right.
And being conscious of the facts that I need people who are high net worth to support the generous social programs that we want to have in our state. Right? Now, there are some patriotic millionaires who stepped up. Okay, cut me the checks. I mean, just if you want to be supportive, but maybe the first step should be go down to Palm Beach and see who you can bring back home, because our tax base has been eroded. So I philosophically don't have a problem. It is like I have to look at the fact that we are in competition with other states who have less of a tax burden on their corporations and their individuals. And I would say remote work changed everything. There were people who could only work in an office in Manhattan or work in New York State, and they were captives to our state. They were going to stay.
They were captive to our state.
They were captive
and
to
they
our
were
state.
going to stay. I love it. But I will say this: the one question, because I've been asking this as a talk radio host for what am I now? 36 years? Is it close to? Yeah, I'm in my 36th year.
I thought it was a 56th year. No,
I don't know what it is. It's whatever. I mean, it was 44 years in radio, 36 in talk, I think.
Well over.
Whatever it is.
Well over. Dusty Slay has a bit about the stand-up comedian when they say, well over 23 people is, well, you mean 24 people?
I've never got, and I brought this up a little earlier, but I've never got this question answered ever. Mm. Just one question. Think about it. We know liberals are listening.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered why I've never been able to get an answer to this question.
Yeah. All right.
Why do liberals believe, like right now in New York State, that's what they're going to do? That's what Jamie Dimon was talking about, that New York State now is considering. They think that the best way to bail out New York City is to increase the corporate tax rate across the entire state to pay for what New York City wants. And the only reason they're doing that is because they believe that the Democrats and independents that keep them in power are complete idiots who actually believe that you're punishing companies by doing so and helping out the individual, hardworking Joe and Jane six-pack.
Yeah.
the lunch, the people that bring their lunch buckets to work every day. Let's throw a bunch of stupid rhetoric into all of this.
Yeah, exactly.
The lunch bucket people.
The people who know the kitchen table issue.
The kitchen table issues people. But they think you're a bunch of idiots because it's a stealth tax that hurts the poor and the middle class the most. My question has been, I've never been, in all of my time doing political talk, never got an answer to this question from any Democrat. Why do you believe that when obviously, if you pay attention to where gasoline prices go, every time the cost of doing business gets more expensive, it's passed on to the consumer. Every time you make it more expensive to do business, it's passed on to the consumer.
Yep.
Or it hurts the company and they're gone, which also hurts the consumer, especially the employee.
Yep.
Why do they fall into the trap that they believe that only corporations are being punished and it makes your life better and less expensive? Are you really, is it really what we saw in No Kings? You're really not faking it? You really don't understand basic concepts like that? But then again, we dealt with that with Republicans. We dealt with that with Republicans with tariffs. Where Republicans were, no, the economy will get better. You can make segments of the economy better, but other people pay for it.
You can gain leverage with other trading nations. There are things you can't accomplish with tariffs, but if you're talking about making the economy better.
But everything we're talking about is basically, it's economics, and economics is how people respond to incentive. That's it. End of story.
Yep.
You can take all the fancy algorithms, everything goes back to how do people respond to incentive and therefore disincentive.
Yeah.
Everything we're seeing here is based on that simple economic concept that so many people want to pretend doesn't exist. I'm not going to believe that.
No, they do.
Because it shouldn't be that way. It should be this way. It shouldn't be. Doesn't matter how you think. You can live in whatever fantasy world you wish to live in. Reality dictates how people respond to incentive.
Yep. And it's funny because I was wondering that earlier when we were talking, and I just have to wonder, when you watch Milton Friedman from over the years and still today is teaching people about economic principles. But how many people, if you said his name, would even know who he is? Again, our audience notwithstanding, most people don't think about it. They just don't. And if you're in a blue state and you're paying $6 for gasoline, you're paying basically way overpaying for everything in California. How do you not put it together that it's your state policy that's driving that? How is it that you look at that and say, well, that's a good thing?
Well, in the 90s, as Milton Friedman got older, you had, and we had talked about it because I'll never forget when he was quoted 10 years ago as saying it. And I went, wow, there it is. Because for years, obviously studying economics, it's like, well, it's how people respond to incentive. And Steve Landsberg, the University of Rochester economics professor, said it a few years ago. He seemed to be promoting it. But what you don't have is remember, for example, Milton Friedman on Phil Donahue.
Yeah. Right.
You would actually they would bring on
for an hour-long conversation.
And remember, Phil Donahue couldn't argue with him.
No, he couldn't.
He tore him apart every single time.
Yep.
And remember the great debates, if you get, I think, I don't even know where my DVD series is. I bought the whole dang DVD series, gave it to so many people. Somebody has it. I have no idea who has it, which was Milton Friedman's Freedom to Choose.
Yeah.
And remember the great debates that he would have in the 70s and the early 80s. It would be Milton Friedman and Thomas Sowell on arguing with a couple of, a couple of liberals.
Right,
and they
right.
were just great.
Yeah, yeah.
Sowell was just great. And he's a former liberal. He was
right.
He admits he was liberal.
Right.
And you go back to, Milton Friedman, studied Adam Smith and everything else and, the concept of capitalism. But to me, the one thing about free markets to me is truly the organic form of economics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that, right. And you can look at it by, before anybody was writing on economics, how people bartered.
Yes. And it was very innovative, even in the barter system. If you think about it, the free market principles spur innovation, right? In finding what is it that I could provide, or my business could provide, or what idea might I have that could be in great demand, where there is an underserved portion of the market. I met somebody over the weekend at the Mid-America Trucking Show. And this is somebody who is a business owner, a truck driver. He's expanding his business. And his success story is incredible. But he put in a process that's in place. And I said, but how did this come to be? He lives in a town of 2,000 people. He said, I'm the only game in town that does what I do. And he said, I saw that there was a need for that. And then I started getting calls. And now the phones don't stop ringing. And so here he is, lives in a small town, has a successful business that's growing. And he's, and again, he's got that thoughtful process. But that's part of innovation. How do I do this, do it more efficiently so that I can maximize all my efficiencies for my business, maximize my profits, also maximize my time, so I'm not killing myself over time. And all of that is what the free market principles nurture. The free market principles put into place that kind of mindset.
But it's also, and when I was referring to the barter system, and you made a great point, the direction I was heading in is it's all voluntary.
Yes. Right.
It's voluntary.
Yes.
The thing about free markets is nobody is telling you what to do.
The government isn't forcing it.
Right. When you look at socialism, communism, any other form of political economic system, because if you look at those systems, they really rely on a authoritarian political system in order to run their economic system.
Right.
Where if you look at free markets and you go back to the beginning of bartering, I'll give you this slab of meat for that fur that you have.
Yeah.
Both parties walk away satisfied.
Yeah.
They voluntarily exchange. They both walk away happy.
Right.
And,
in fact, my going back in my ancestry, it was an interesting story, and it wasn't interesting because the person was related to me. This would have been my 7th or 8th great-grandfather, who came over, one of the first 109 settlers in Jamestown. But one of the first things that he did in order to get land is he bargained with the native tribes to say that I will bring you pelts and food in order to have, if I can have this piece of land to live on peacefully. And then he developed this basically barter relationship. And then beyond that, his 2 sons became landowners, and, and it just kind of went from there. But that was again, you're talking about, all right, a solution to fill a need, a basic need. If you think about developing a business, I spoke to another guy at the show that was telling me about the innovation. He started as it's an app. It's a big company now, a tech company designed for the trucking industry. But he said it was a side gig. I needed to make my bills. That was number one. But then he got this job, and they said, well, no, you're going to have to quit your side gig. It's that or us. And he said, well, okay. And he dove in head first. Like a lot of small business owners, he's grown this into a massive company, highly successful company. And he did that based on the risk that you take. Again, the government not being in his way, nobody telling him he had to do it. He saw a need, and he had that drive. That's the free market that drives that innovation and that power of intent to be successful with a lot of people. It doesn't always work out as planned, but it is a huge driver for any economy, especially, of course, a free economy.
As Steve Landsberg said, and I love this quote, and I love the way he read when we read it about 10, 15 years ago. It was like, people respond to incentives. The rest, commentary.
Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly. That's
and
it.
And I can't believe how many people I tell, they go, what is economics? I go, how people respond to incentive.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to be more complicated than that. No, it's not. Well, what about this? Things should be, that's commentary.
Yep.
That's not economics. Economics is how people respond to incentive. That's it.
Yep.
We are Red Eye Radio.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, I mentioned the University of Rochester economist Stephen Landsberg. The one thing that he said one time, though, where I went, no, I don't think so, is when he proposed, and I think he threw it out there as a matter of economics, where he said juries should be punished if they make the wrong decision and find out if somebody is innocent later on, and they should be rewarded if they get it right. The point, I think what the point is he was trying to make is, if there's a financial element, they will take jury duty more serious. It's not going to happen, but
no,
and I don't agree with it. But,
no, because now you've added something. If they're doing it, what if they're doing it for the money?
Exactly.
You know.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.